Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 516. The Hanged Man's Guess. Amidst his shock, another doubt surfaced in Alger's mind. If Mr. Fool had foreseen this, why did he mention that Banshee Harbor's matter is related to Rose Redemption and the King of Angels, Medici? Did he tell us on purpose? He hopes to spread this matter through us? The target is the King of Angels, Medici? No, it's more likely to be the true creator. Mr. Fool has repeatedly thwarted the plans of the true creator before, so it should be no exception this time. The term Rose Redemption appeared in the abandoned temple of the true creator, and it's established by the King of Angels, Medici, and Ouroboros. Clearly, they share a deep connection with the true creator. Banshee Harbor only has our Church of Storms, so the person Mr. Fool is really informing is actually me? Alger vaguely understood something. Then, he became acutely aware of another problem. The last time the world mentioned that something major was about to happen in Backland, it was immediately confirmed by Mr. Fool, and it later involved the awakening of the primordial demonis and the descent of the true creator. This time, the abnormality at Banshee Harbor also received a response from Mr. Fool. He revealed the secret hidden in ancient Binzi, and has brought the Rose Redemption and the King of Angels to the forefront of all the members of the Tarot Club. Isn't this T2 coincidental? Yes, news provided by the world previously had to do with Backland, and this is the first time it involves the sea. Furthermore, Mr. Fool had mentioned last week that his Blessed has been forced to leave Backland because of the Great Smog. They matched perfectly. So, the world is actually Mr. Fool's Blessed. No, he should be a representative among all his Blessed in the Tarot Club. He's to do things that Mr. Fool finds inconvenient. Of course, through this gathering, the Blessed will also trade goods and knowledge in order to advance himself. This is also considered a form of Mr. Fool's nurturing of him. On careful thought, this theory is probably correct. At least, the world has never collected Roselle's diary in exchange for knowledge or intelligence from Mr. Fool. As his Blessed, it's his duty, so he has probably submitted them in private. From this conclusion, some deliberate questions or contradictions on the world's part are meant to conceal his identity as a Blessed. This is consistent with his experienced, skilled, and cunning character. In addition to the hidden attempt to awaken as he slowly lifts the seal, Mr. Fool holds the tarot gathering to also use us to interfere in certain events. This is evident from the composition of the members: a high noble, a beyonder at the bishop level of the church, a survivor of the forsaken land of God, a student of the Abraham family, an adult vampire. Each of us represents a faction or a particular circle or resource channel. Many thoughts flashed through Alger's mind. Not only was he not repressed by his own guesses, but he was also excited. To him, Mr. Fool's unknown purpose was the most frightening thing. Having an initial understanding of what he wanted to do allowed him to effectively avoid any risks and improve himself by doing so. As long as the Fool wants to use us to do things, he'll definitely give us some benefits. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll be able to see the hope of becoming a demigod. Head the world, you definitely didn't expect that I would see through your disguise. Alger's fear subsided, and he began to think about how to use the information about Banshee Harbor. He couldn't report the matter just like that, as it would arouse suspicion, and he had to patiently wait for an opportunity to let the higher-ups appreciate him and reward him, without ending up being monitored. Audrey could tell that Mr. Hangman was undergoing a mental exercise, but she didn't expect him to come up with so many guesses in such a short period of time. And from the words of Mr. Fool, she was delighted to learn that Rose Redemption was a secret organization established by a number of kings of angels, which was also related to the true creator. At the same time, she vaguely sensed the strangeness of the world. She realized that this member of the organization, who was the most difficult to read, was always involved in important matters and could always obtain important information. Furthermore, he constantly produced formulas, ingredients, and beyonder characteristics, as if he could successfully hunt down a beyonder within 1 to 2 weeks. He left Backland and went to sea? Or was it a rumor he heard in Backland? Should I tell this information to the church? Well, Mr. Hangman has a close relationship with the Church of Storms, so it's better for him to do it, and there wouldn't be any problems. Audrey suppressed the thought of probing and only curiously asked, Honorable Mr. Fool, what's the title of the King of Angels, Medici? Or should I say, what is his pathway? Klein leaned back into his chair and said with a deep chuckle, Red Priest. Red Priest? Which pathway is that? It sounds very similar to the Black Emperor. Could it be that it's another Sequence 0 title? Audrey thought with excitement and joy. Red Priest. Derek silently muttered the words, realizing that there was no corresponding record in the City of Silver's history. Perhaps I haven't read enough, having only received a general education, he thought regretfully. Furs and Emlyn listened as if they were listening to a story and were equally interested in similar information. The only problem is that I can't brag about it or write it into my novels. Furs felt a pang of regret. Mr. Hangman will likely report it to his superiors. Let's hope he doesn't delay it for too long. With his shrewdness, he may have already figured out some of the problems regarding the world and has grasped the relationship between him and the Fool. Fortunately, I've deliberately set up the world to be Sherlock Moriarty since a long time ago, giving him the identity of a blessed. Mr. Hangman can at best detect it up to this point, unable to imagine that the world is actually a dummy. Klein raised his hand to his chin, smiled, and said, Continue. Seeing that Mr. Fool was no longer talking about the subject, Emlyn, who had freed himself from his emotions as a messiah, began to face the difficult problems of reality. That was his lack of money. Regardless, he had never considered selling off his dolls. He only told himself that he needed to be frugal in the future. Only after half a year or even a year could he get himself a new doll, or he could buy a new set of clothes for the dolls he already had. In addition, the only way he could think of making money was to sell some potions that had a miraculous effect, but that could easily bring hidden danger to his clansmen in Backland. This is an arrangement by the ancestor. Logically speaking, Lord Nibs should provide me help, but Mr. Fool wishes for me to keep it a secret, to be the Messiah in the shadows who's burdened with responsibility. I'm not to reveal it on my own accord. After thinking for a few seconds, Emlyn pumped himself up, cleared his throat, and said, Everyone, I have a question. Here's the matter. Suppose there's a powerhouse who has arranged for you to investigate something. Although you have successfully obtained the information, you are unable to report it to the person due to certain reasons. Then, how can you continue to get support from this powerhouse? Having said this, Emlyn suddenly felt that this act was somewhat shameful. This makes me appear like a traitor and a spy. No, I'm doing this for the sake of the Sanguine's continuation. For this, I have to give up my reputation and bear the burden of being misunderstood. When this is over, and when the truth is revealed, they'll be moved by me. Emlyn quickly eased his prior feelings. At this moment, Audrey, Furs, and Derek cast their eyes towards Alger. In their eyes, Mr. Hangman was the most experienced and the best teacher in this field. Klein also thought so too. Alger glanced at the moon and chuckled. It's simple, but you have to take some risks. Emlyn subconsciously denied. It's not me. The hangman replied with a chuckle. Let's assume that it's you. He continued his description. You will slowly display a certain level of abnormalities in your daily life, allowing that powerhouse to see that you have a problem. He will have two choices. One is to interrogate you directly, but it will be very easy to end up losing a lead for clues. The second is to inadvertently provide you with help so that you can investigate more thoroughly, and then send people to monitor you. I think the second possibility is the most likely. The risk you have to take is how to not reveal the information you want to hide while under surveillance. That works? In fact, I won't be exposed either. Every tarot gathering, I'll be resting in the Harvest Church, looking normal on the outside. As for the sacrifice of items and the receiving of bestowments, they're things that can be shown to Lord Nibs and the others. It will allow them to guess that I have formed some sort of connection with Mr. Fool, but they can't imagine that I've already joined a secret gathering. Very well, while I'm studying history, I'll take the initiative to ask Baron Waymandy about the City of Silver. Emlyn's eyes lit up as he had an idea. He then thought of something and turned to the hanged man. Last week, didn't you ask about a way to make everyone on board a ship sleep at the same time? It's very simple. I can provide you with a magical anesthetic gas that can effectively spread without any irritating smells. Even on the deck, one will fall unconscious once they catch a whiff of it. Of course, it's best if you choose a windless night, and that the targets are unable to sense danger, and their physiques cannot be too strong. Those beyonders that are well known for their physiques in Sequence 9 are the limit. It can cause deep slumber that lasts for more than 3 hours. The effects will constantly decline after that. £100 a can, and an extra £30 for me. The hanged man thought about the situation of the sailors on the ghost ship and didn't haggle. Okay. He wanted to erect a certain image in front of the moon, to prepare for the big transaction that would follow. He had thought of using a slumber charm, but that would require him to chant the incantation. It would make the sailors notice that something was wrong and suspect something afterward. At the end of the exchange, Klein tapped the surface of the long, mottled table with his finger, and he said with a leisurely smile, I can foresee that everyone will present a new appearance of themselves next week. Let us end today's gathering here. Thank you for your blessings. Audrey was the first to stand up. She took her leave, expressing her gratitude. With Mr. Fool saying those words, she felt more confident in consuming the psychiatrist's potion. As the magician and the others repeated the same words, one figure after another disappeared from the palace. The area above the gray fog returned to its eternal silence.